Big story that we're tracking at this hour, General Pervez Musharraf has passed away in hospital in Dubai. The 79-year-old former Pakistan president was living in Dubai in self-exile. According to reports, he was admitted in the hospital after he developed heart and blood-related complications. Pakistan ISPR has confirmed Musharraf's passing away. The statement issue read, and I'm quoting here, CJCSC and services chiefs express heartfelt condolences sad demise of General Pervez Musharraf. Former President, CJCSC and Chief of Army Staff, may God bless the departed soul and give strength to the family. General Pervez Musharraf was a man with a mixed legacy. He was Pakistan's army chief during Kargil war. He was the man who toppled the Nawaz Sharif government in 1999. He was the last military dictator of Pakistan. He was the president who supported the West in the war on terror. But he was also a Pakistan president who made significant strides trying to strike peace with India. The legacy of Pervez Musharraf is a mixed bag. Now, when India launched Operation Meghdoot during the Siachen conflict in 1984, General Musharraf headed the Pakistani operations. It was after the defeat of Pakistan in 1984 that Musharraf vowed to occupy Kargil. When the Kargil war took place 15 years later, General Musharraf was Pakistan's army chief. For more on this, we are now being joined by Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik and our Principal Diplomatic Correspondent Siddhant Sibal. Hi, my first question is for you, Anas. General Musharraf passed away in Dubai. He always wanted to return back to Pakistan. Is there any official word if his body will be brought back to the country?
Well, that's what we're awaiting word on, Rahisha. He passed away about 3 hours back in a hospital in Dubai, at the American hospital in Dubai, and the formalities are still being done. He was somebody who was suffering from multiple organ failure, a disease that was of sorts. It was being stalled, but it could not be avoided. The medication that he was on, it was such high dose that the disease was being stalled, but it could not be avoided from spreading to other parts of his body, and therefore the complications arose, and General Musharraf has passed away. Now, what we know that the family is getting done with the formalities, and in about some hours from now, in about some time from now, we'll be hearing more on the funeral bit. Whether his body or remains will be brought back to Pakistan or not, that is a question that we would know more on it. We will know in about 2 to 3 hours from now. Rahisha?
Coming to you, Siddhant. Now, it was under Musharraf that the establishment decided to play ball with the US in the war on terror. Can you reflect on that?
Well, when it comes to Pervez Musharraf's other preoccupation, to use the phrase, it was the war on terror, which essentially started after the 9/11 terror attacks. Now, Musharraf was seen as a key ally, and of course, he played the ball game as well. He took action against a lot of terror groups, many terror groups which West did not like. Not that he did not, he was at least not seen as taking action against terror groups which were attacking India. In fact, I can tell you another point. Today, Pakistan is marking the so-called Kashmir Solidarity Day. It's a day when a lot of propaganda machinery of Pakistan is overworking with a lot of rallies as well. In 2007, Hafiz Saeed, who is responsible for many terror attacks here in India, was taking part in these rallies, and Pervez Musharraf was the president of the country. But of course, we know that he understood that when it comes to dealing with terrorism and using terrorism as a state policy, it can be a double-edged sword. And he ultimately understood that, especially after many assassination bids on him. He was then, of course, keen that it's time to have peace with India, when, of course, there was a full-blown war against terrorism going on in Afghanistan with the presence of American forces. But if you look at his career, his political career, his military career, he was a person who was the most important person in Pakistan. For almost a decade, he was a strong man. He was keen on having ties with India before of course, the Kargil conflict is something that will be remembered. When it comes to West war against terrorism, he played a key role. When it comes to ties with Afghanistan, that's a separate story. But from such a powerful position, he essentially became a nobody in the Pakistani politics. He has died in Dubai, far away from his country, a country, of course, he loves, and of course, has talked about how he wanted to see Pakistan as. So perhaps we do not know what was his last moment, but many would see it as a man not very happy because he, of course, wanted something else with his life, with Pakistan, but of course died disgracefully. There were charges against them, as Anas was pointing out earlier.
Right, Siddhant. Now, General Musharraf was also responsible for the Kargil war back in 1999, where he backstabbed his own government and sent Pakistani intruders into India. How do you look at the Kargil's misadventure under General Pervez Musharraf?
Well, one thing I can point out is we have been talking about this Kargil conflict for last almost 1 hour. But today, when India is remembering Pervez Musharraf, as I was saying, that it's a wall-to-wall coverage which is happening right now. It's perhaps the biggest story here in India today. It's the Kargil conflict. He's seen through the Kargil conflict. He's seen as the person who essentially, when it comes to India, Pakistan, keen on having peace, was backstabbing India. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee went to Lahore. Many were happy that there will be a peace. And while this was happening, Kargil was being planned. Then, of course, we saw after the Kargil, there was a change in heart when it comes to Pervez Musharraf. The Agra summit happened. But Pervez Musharraf's legacy with India will be defined through the Kargil conflict. That is the reality. Many would today remember him as a person who backstabbed India because of the Kargil conflict. Many Indian soldiers died in the conflict, and that is something that India is never going to forget.
Right. Siddhant, my one last question to you. How do you analyze India-Pakistan relations under General Pervez Musharraf?
Well, a mixed bag. There was this conflict. There was this peace. He was responsible for the ceasefire pact, which was signed in early 2000, something that is still holding. And he was keen later on to have peace with India. But it's a missed opportunity when it comes to Pervez Musharraf. He was a strong man. He could have resolved Kashmir. Many would say that was something that both sides were almost able to do so before backing off. It's a failed opportunity, but he will be remembered as a chapter in India-Pakistan relationship, a chapter which has many lessons for India and Pakistan, and of course many lessons for India when it comes to dealing with Pakistani military dictatorship. Because while everyone knows Pakistan is keen to always say that it's a democracy, but everyone knows that the fact of life in Pakistan is that it's the military dictatorship that rules the roost in Pakistan. Every decision, especially when it comes to foreign policy, is taken by the Pakistani military leadership. And in this case as well, Pervez Musharraf had a vital role, but he was keen to do what he wanted for himself, for his career, but also for Pakistan as well. He is remembered as the last dictator of Pakistan, but it's not that the military forces have gone away to the barracks. They still rule from Rawalpindi. The politics continues, but there are invisible forces that become very visible sometimes that govern relationship with India. And many in India would like to perhaps deal directly with the Pakistani military establishment, given the civilian leadership is not seen as a strong force. So there are lessons for India when it comes to dealing with Pakistani military rulers from dealing with Pervez Musharraf. But it's a chapter that will be remembered by, as I've been talking about, by many of us as well who were still in school, in colleges, and remember how we were almost there for peace when it comes to India and Pakistan. But again, we went back, and it's a lost opportunity. If you look at the India-Pakistan relationship today, we haven't been talking for years now, and it's highly unlikely that there will be talks. Pakistan has been saying that India needs to again put the special status, Article 370. That's highly unlikely to happen. And as long as that doesn't happen, Pakistan says it won't be having talks with India. So it's a deadlock. It's something that is unlikely to be resolved. So Pervez Musharraf had that opportunity to resolve issues. It's a missed opportunity.
Right. I would also like to bring in our guest, Mateen Haider, who's a senior political analyst from Islamabad. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Haider. I want to first start by asking you, tell us about General Pervez Musharraf's legacy as a politician, as a ruler, and how will the people of Pakistan remember him?
Well, the era of former President General Pervez Musharraf has been with certain positive aspects and with certain negative aspects. People of Pakistan would remember for his steps, bold steps, which he took for economic stability in the country. Pakistan was out of the IMF program, and that particular era in which General Pervez Musharraf was president of Pakistan, everyone remembers. Pakistan was out of the program, but people of Pakistan would be remembering him negatively for some of the policies as far as operation against terrorists and militants were concerned. He will not be remembered positively for Lal Masjid operation, although he took a stand, and in the heart of Islamabad, there was an operation. People had some mixed reactions. Some of people were in favor of the operation. Some people were against that.
We also have with us our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik. Anas, do we have any word on if General Pervez Musharraf's body will be brought back to Pakistan? We know he always wanted to return back to his country, but he died in Dubai in self-exile.
Well, what I'm hearing right now is, Rahisha, the latest update is that the state of Pakistan has offered to bring the body back via a special plane. A decision on this is purely that of the family. Begum Sahiba Musharraf, Bilal and Ayla Musharraf, they are his son and daughter are to take the decision. That is a decision that we would be expecting in the next 2 to 3 hours. But the Pakistani state, and when I say the state, it includes the government as well, they have offered to the family to transport the body back to the country, to Pakistan, for burial in case if the family decides. His demise took place at about between 8:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. Dubai time, so that's roughly about 3.5 hours back.
Anas, I have to interrupt at this moment, Anas. We have with us Fawad Chaudhry, former Minister of Information and Broadcasting of Pakistan. Mr. Chaudhry, I want to first start by asking you, tell us about General Pervez Musharraf's legacy as a politician and as a ruler.
Well, I was just for 2 years. This is a big part of his family. And since the beginning, I maintained a very respectful relationship with the family and with the very. He was a tall man. He was a tall man in Pakistan, the modern Pakistan. All the institutions, we see the media, the higher education commission, the independence of the institutions, all the brainchild of Pervez Musharraf. And I must say, I must commend him for. He was a dictator. I mean, he came after the getting the constitution. But his era was the most democratic era that Pakistan witnessed. Today, in this so-called democracy, all the political opponents of this government are facing harassment, incarceration, and what kind of political discrimination. This was not the Pervez Musharraf. He obviously migrated from Delhi. Very, I would say, a common family. He was always proud of the struggle of his family. He was always proud of his army. and always proud of his country. He fought 2 wars with India, 61 and 65 and 71. But he was always pro-relationships. He wanted to build relationships with India and Pakistan. He thought that this will change the whole dimension of South Asia. But unfortunately, Vajpayee Sahab and Musharraf Sahab were very close of Kashmir solution. Had that been done, things would have been different today. But unfortunately, that did not happen. But he was always a Delhiite, I must tell you. And, he's always, when he visited India, the first thing he did was that he visited his ancestral house. And he was a great fan of Vajpayee. And I think Pakistan will miss him. And South Asia has lost a great leader. And Pakistan, people of Pakistan will always remember him for giving us the modern Pakistan, the diverse Pakistan, for opening up media. Although we are in shackles now, the moment we are struggling for our democratic rights under the so-called democratic government, which is actually worse than the dictatorship. But I must say, Pervez Musharraf was a tall man. His friend was one who kicked him in the hand, and he was subjected to political victimization by Nawaz Sharif and Zardari. But he was a tall man in himself.
Right. I would now hand it over to Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik, who's also live with us on this broadcast.
Mr. Fawad, thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to WION. I just want to toss this to you because you've been up close with him as a spokesperson, as a close confidant of Pervez Musharraf, General Retired Pervez Musharraf. You've seen the man up close. 3 things he can be credited with is the local government system, is economic stability, and by and large the ceasefire agreement with India. What are your thoughts, some of your closest memories as the party spokesperson as well, as somebody who had been with him during his thick and thin, some memories that you would like to share with us, Mr. Fawad? Mr. Fawad, thank you so much for taking our time. This is Anas Malik from Islamabad. You've been his party spokesperson. You've been up close with him, very close during his thick and thin, especially during the last years of his presidency. And 3 things General Musharraf would be credited with is A, the devolution of power through local body system, then the free media or free press that we see today, and then of course the economic stability. Your memories with General Retired Pervez Musharraf, as somebody who you've been up close with, anything that you would want to share with regards to the freedom of press that he believed in, because we saw this boom in the media industry during General Musharraf's time. Something that you would like to share, Mr. Fawad?
Anas, how are the people of Pakistan viewing General Pervez Musharraf's demise at the moment? How will they remember him?
There are mixed emotions. You heard Fawad Chaudhry, the former Information and Broadcast Minister. You heard Hassan Kamal Wattu, who is a top lawyer. So there are conflicting or there are different opinions about him. But he certainly was somebody who would leave an impact on the Pakistani society, good or bad. Either way, it depends on how you want to see it, the glass half full or the glass half empty. But by and large, as I was just asking Fawad Chaudhry, the 3 things that General Retired Pervez Musharraf would be credited with is A, the devolution of power through empowering the local body system, especially in Pakistan's biggest city of Karachi, because he himself, after having migrated from Delhi, he shifted, his family settled in Karachi. And as Fawad Chaudhry was saying that he came from a middle class family and he was very proud of his roots. He remained a Delhiite at heart. That is the reason, when he went to India, the first thing that he did was visit his ancestral home. I was telling to Eric a short while back that my fondest memory of General Pervez Musharraf would be when that in 2004, L.K. Advani, a prominent Indian politician, visited Karachi, and he met General retired Pervez Musharraf, as he was also the president and the commander-in-chief or the chief of the army staff and CNC. And the meeting that was slated to last roughly about between 25 and 35 minutes, that lasted for about over.
Right, Anas, I would
that
like to
lasted for
interrupt
about 2 hours.
at this
So
moment.
when I asked General Musharraf,
We also have with us Mateen Haider, a senior political analyst. Mr.
Go ahead.
Haider, I would want to ask you that what was your reaction on General Pervez Musharraf's demise and how would you remember him?
Yes, I was earlier commenting, and there was some activity issue. General positive, as I will endorse Anas' viewpoint that operation in Balochistan, which resulted in the killing of Mr. Akbar Bukti, a renowned Baloch politician, that went against him. And then accepting the American pressure for war against terror, although there is no compromise on this point that Pakistan is very much committed to fight the menace of terrorism, but once Pakistan joined the American war against terrorism, certain things were compromised. And then he raised his own political system, his own ideology, and devolution of power was the biggest idea of former President General Pervez Musharraf. He brought far-reaching reforms in police system and set up police safety commission. The centuries-old deputy commissioner system was also changed, and then district Nazim system was introduced. There was economic stability. Pakistan's economic indicators were all the time high at that time. The relations with India were extraordinary, as former President General Pervez Musharraf interacted with two of the Indian prime ministers, one Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and the other one was Dr. Manmohan Singh. I got an opportunity of traveling with him and covered some of his historic meeting with Dr. Manmohan Singh in Havana, Cuba in 2006, and then certain other meetings. So he was committed, and he was of the belief that relations between Pakistan and India should be normalized, took a number of steps. And during his tenure, there wasn't that much tension between India and Pakistan, which we witnessed back in 1999. Although in 1999, before taking over, he was chief of the army staff at the time of Kargil crisis. But when he became president of Pakistan, his approach, his policy towards India was totally different. And as Anas was mentioning earlier, he originally belonged to New Delhi, so he wanted to improve relations between India and Pakistan, and to some extent he was quite successful. Pakistan's relation with the United States were also very good. He was considered as blue-eyed boy of the United States, being Pakistan being the frontline state in fight against terrorism. Of course, in Afghanistan, his policies were mixed up. Right, there were some positive steps, there were some of the negative.
I would have to interrupt at this moment. We're running short of time. Thank you for joining us on this hour and sharing your insights with us. I would also like to thank our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, and our Pakistan Bureau Chief, Anas Malik, for joining us on this hour. We will, of course, be tracking this very closely. Thanks.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.